Sydney is Australia's largest city, chief port and cultural centre.
Testing 1 2 3. Stars are born in nebulae, massive clouds of gas and dust. Ocean currents move vast amounts of water across the globe. Ocean currents move vast amounts of water across the globe. Bees pollinate many crops, making them vital for agriculture. They also support diversity. Natural disasters include earthquakes, floods, hurricanes, and wildfires. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Natural disasters include earthquakes, floods, hurricanes, and wildfires. These events can cause significant damage to here. Natural disasters include earthquakes, flood, hurricanes, and wildfires. These events can cause significant damage. The water table is the upper level of underground water in soil or rock. The water table is the upper level of underground water in soil or rock. The Olympics began in ancient Greece and were revived in 1896 as an international sporting event.
This office is highly associated with your academic life on campus.
This office is highly associated with your academic life on campus.
New shores were formed, and totally different creatures would have been washed up onto the shores.
New shores were formed and completely new creatures were destroyed in the shores, and I am very happy today.
Today we're going to move on to the next chapter, volcanoes.
Today we are going to move to the new chapter, volcanoes.
Enrollment in classes is supposed to be completed via the university records system.
Enrollment in classes should be completed via the enrollment record recorded in the university lecture.
You must be willing to accept any of the choices you selected.
You must be willing to accept any of choices you make.
But we have confirmed the dates and planned the optional extra visits.
But we have planned the dates and planned the extra visit.
During times of change, they should be thinking not only about the strain on their staff,
During the time of change, they should not be thinking only about the strain of their staff.
An interesting feature of the show is that the performers are so young. The youngest is only 14.
An interesting feature of this show is that performers are extremely young and the age of that is only 14.
Doing this research makes me think of the purpose of science.
During this research, it makes me feel the purpose of science.
We don't have enough evidence to draw conclusions.
We don't have enough evidence to draw conclusion.
Physics is a subject of matters and energy.
Physics is a subject of matter and energy.
All students and staff have the access to printers and scanners.
All students and staff have access to printers and scanners. The pie chart gives information about browser uses on Wikimedia. It consists of different categories like Chrome, Firefox, IE, Android, Opera, and Safari. The highest category is The pie chart gives information about browser uses on Wikimedia. It consists of different categories like Firefox, Chrome, IE, Other, Android, Opera, and Safari. The highest category is IE at 34.2% and the lowest one is Android at 1.9%. Moreover, Firefox is at 23.6% and Chrome is a bit lesser at 20.6%, which is again followed by Safari 11.2% and Opera is only 5% represented by light blue color. Firefox is shown in red color. Overall, this pie chart shows the browser uses on Wikimedia. The bar graph gives information about scores by team per season. The bar graph gives information about scores by team per season. It consists of three teams such as Team A, Team B, and Team C. Team A is represented by red color, Team B is shown in blue color, and Team C is in purple color. The x-axis shows seasons such as 2008, 2009, and 2010. The y-axis represents the points. The highest number of points can be seen in the year 2009 for the team B, which is 60 points, and the lowest can be seen in the year 2008, that is 82 points for the team B. And for team C, the highest can be seen in 2009, followed by 2011. The image gives information about the water cycle and how it uses the sunlight rays to convert cool water into warm water. It consists of different categories and instruments like sun rays, which gives the heat energy, cool water, water pipe, box off, and the transparent tap. At the first step, sun rays is come to the box in the transparent tap, and the cool water is inserted from the inlet. In the final step, the hot water or the warm water is come out from the outlet. In the process, sun plays a very significant role. Overall, this picture shows how cool water is converted to warm water. The bar graph gives information about the Litchfield population. The x-axis represents year from 1901 to 2011, and the y-axis represents the number of population. The highest number of population can be seen in the year 2011, which is more than 35,000, and the least can be seen in the year 1901, which is less than 10,000. Moreover, in the year 1971 and 1981, the population can be seen in median values such as 25,000. Moreover, in 1921, the population was constant at 10,000. The bar graph gives information about loss of income after a dance career. The x-axis represents different countries such as United States, Australia, and Switzerland. The y-axis consists of percentage of dancers reporting this as a career transition challenge. The highest number can be seen in the Australia, around 55%, and the least can be seen in the Switzerland for the current dancers, which is less than 50%. Similarly, for the expectations former dancers experience, the value for Australia and United seems to be almost close around 40%, and it is a bit less for Switzerland. The pie chart gives information about project cost breakdown in different categories such as legal, insurance, facilities, and labor licenses and taxes. Labor is represented by red color and its value is 17.48%. The highest project cost breakdown can be seen for the category. The brown color, it is not represented with the value. And the licenses can be seen with 12.59%, taxes can be seen on 10.49 percentage, and facilities is around 20.9 percentage. This is the highest value.
Aquaculture, the farming of fish, shrimp, shellfish, and seaweeds, has been the source of human protein for nearly 4,000 years, especially in Asia. In the last decade, however, there has been unprecedented growth in aquaculture production, more than 300% since 1984, which has increased the importance of the modern food supply. It's the world's fastest growing food production activity. And globally, more than 25% of the odd fishing and shellfish production in 1999 was attributable to aquaculture. Yes, this industry's contribution to the human diet is actually greater than the numbers imply, whereas a third of the conventional fish catch is used to make fish meal and fish oil. Virtually all farmed fish are used as human food. Today, nearly one-third of fish consumed by human is the product of aquaculture. And that percentage will only increase as aquaculture expands the world's conventional fish catch. For the oceans and lakes continues to decline because of overfishing and environmental damage.
The main topic of the lecture was fish farming. Firstly, the speaker mentioned the farming of fish is the source of protein, especially in the Asian countries. Furthermore, he discussed world's fastest growing food activity. Additionally, the speaker said that fish catch is used to make fish meal and fish oil. Moreover, ocean and lake continues to decrease because of the overfishing and the environmental damage. Overall, the discussion was about the fish farming and focused on the farming of fish is the source of protein, and the fish meal and fish oil is the main reason behind the fish farming.
Let's say if I'm asking, which source do you often use to get information? Newspapers, radio, and the survey shows 62% of the people chose the internet. You might be thinking, I am going to say how important the internet is, or how quickly it has changed the world for a few years. But what if I tell you this survey is conducted on the website globalandmail.com? Our answer will be different. Because the people who did this survey on a website must be frequent users of the internet. This sample is a bias sample, so we have to pay attention to how a survey is conducted.
The main topic of the lecture was the source of information. Firstly, the speaker mentioned there are two main sources of information, that is newspaper and radio. Furthermore, he discussed 67% of people prefer to use internet as the main source of information. Moreover, frequent users of internet was also mentioned in the lecture. Additionally, the speaker said that how the survey is conducted to find the source of information and what people are using actually, that is newspaper, radio, or the internet. Overall, the lecture was about finding the information through different communication media.
What is the term for a person who writes poems?
Poetry.
What do you call the money people pay to the government, usually from their income?
Tax money, tax.
What is the name of the device that converts sound into electrical signals for recording?
Sound, electrical signal recording. Waves.
What unit is used to measure temperature in most of the world?
degree Celsius, Celsius, degree Celsius, degree Fahrenheit.
What do you call a person who writes novels?
Novelist, novelist, writer, writer, literature.
In what subject would you study algebra and geometry?
Geometry, algebra, math, mathematics, statistics.
Today's topic is balancing part-time work with full-time studies. Imagine you're a full-time university student working 20 hours a week. How do you manage to maintain balance?
For me, it all comes down to time management. I treat my calendar like a lifeline. I schedule everything in detail, from lectures and work shifts to dedicated study blocks, meals, and even short breaks. This structure helps me stay on top of my responsibilities and avoid cramming or last-minute stress. I've found that when I stick to the plan, I can get everything done without feeling too overwhelmed.
I agree that time management is important, but I think flexibility plays a big role too. One thing I did early on was have an honest conversation with my manager. I explained that during exam periods or when major assignments are due, I wouldn't be available for work. Setting clear expectations from the start helped me avoid work-study conflicts. It's also made my job more manageable since I can focus fully on academics when it matters most.
I've learned that setting personal boundaries is just as important. At first, I used to say yes to every work shift and every social plan, thinking I could handle it all, but I burned out really quickly. Now, I take a step back and assess whether I realistically have time for something before committing. It's hard to say no sometimes, but protecting your time and energy is essential for long-term balance.
Has your academic performance been affected by working part-time?
Honestly, yes, at least in the beginning. I struggled a bit as I adjusted to balancing both. My grades dipped slightly for a semester while I figured out a rhythm, but once I got into a routine, my performance bounced back, and I've been able to maintain solid results since.
I do get tired sometimes, especially when both school and work get busy. But I've learned to use weekends for rest and recovery. It really helps me recharge and stay focused during the week. If I skip rest, everything starts to suffer.
For me, sleep and self-care have become non-negotiables. When I start cutting corners on those, my focus, mood, and academic work all take a hit. So I make sure to get enough rest, eat properly, and take short mental breaks, even during busy periods.
Would you recommend part-time work to other students?
Definitely, but only if you're organized and know how to manage your time. It can be a great way to gain experience and earn some money, but it's important to find the right balance and not let either work or academics suffer.
The discussion was mainly about the work-life balance. There were three speakers in the discussion. They were discussing about balancing part-time work with the full-time study. The first speaker mentioned about time management. Time management helps to remain in top of the university. He further discussed flexibility also plays great role, and setting clear expectation help to balance work and study. After that, the second speaker focused on taking a step back before committing anything in the work and study balance. Additionally, this speaker explained about protecting time and energy is essential for long-term goals. The third speaker also shared information on when I follow my performance improved and taking break in weekend help to focus on the weekdays. This speaker also provided detail about taking rest, eating enough food, and even in busy time. Towards the end, they were discussing about finding right balance between the work and study. Overall, the discussion focused on finding the balance on work life and the study time during the university time for all the college students.
Welcome to the Academic Writing Workshop. Let's begin by discussing some of the most common struggles students face with academic writing. What are some challenges you've encountered?
For me, one of the biggest challenges is organizing my essays. I usually have a lot of good points or arguments in mind, but I struggle to arrange them in a logical order. Sometimes the structure feels disjointed, and the flow from one idea to the next isn't smooth. That makes it harder for the reader to follow my argument clearly.
I can definitely relate to that, but I'd say my main issue is staying on topic. I often start strong, directly answering the question, but then I find myself going off on tangents. I include points that are interesting but not entirely relevant to what's being asked. That affects the clarity and focus of my essays.
My biggest difficulty is with referencing. Understanding and applying different citation styles like APA, MLA, or Chicago is really confusing. I am always second-guessing whether I have cited sources correctly, and I worry that getting it wrong will cost me marks, even if the rest of the content is good.
Those are all very common challenges. Academic writing involves many different skills, and it's normal to find certain areas more difficult than others. Have you tried any strategies to address these problems?
Yes, I've recently started creating detailed outlines before I begin writing. I list all the key points I want to cover and try to arrange them in a way that makes sense. This helps me build a clear structure from the beginning and ensures that each paragraph leads smoothly into the next.
I use a similar method. I underline the key words in the essay prompt before I start writing, and then I keep checking my paragraphs to make sure they link back to those keywords. That keeps me focused and helps avoid going off topic.
I've been using a reference manager called Zotero. It allows me to save all my sources in one place and generate citations automatically in the style I need. It's been a game changer for me. It saves time and gives me confidence that my references are correct.
Those are excellent strategies. Academic writing can definitely feel overwhelming, especially when you are just starting out. But with tools like outlines, constant topic checks, and reference managers, it becomes much easier to manage. Writing is a skill that improves with practice and planning.
Definitely.
The discussion was mainly about academic writing. There were three speakers in the discussion and they discussed on the challenges they faced during the academic writing. The first speaker mentioned that organizing essay and flow idea from one topic to another isn't always smooth. He further discussed including interesting points but not related to the topic. After that, the second speaker said that I'm always second guessing it and the cited source is also not right. This speaker also explained about strategies needs to be made to address the writing problems. The third speaker shared information on outlining the essay and organizing it into different structures so that the idea can be clearly shown in the essay topic. Moreover, this speaker provided details about a reference manager for citation, which helps to save the time and give confidence. Towards the end, the discussion focused on writing is a skill that can improve with the practice and time. Overall, the discussion was mainly about academic writing and how the students can improve it in their daily academic life.
You were paired with a new lab partner, but are finding it difficult to communicate effectively with them. You've tried to collaborate, but there have been misunderstandings. You decide to talk to the course coordinator for advice. What do you say to describe the challenge and ask for guidance on resolving it?
The situation presented here is about I'm paired with a new lab partner, but I'm finding it difficult to communicate effectively with them. While considering this situation, we should also focus on I have tried to collaborate, but there have been misunderstandings. Additionally, it is important to take into account that I decide to talk to the course coordinator for advice. Therefore, we need to take into the accounts that the lab partner and finding the effective communication and the collaboration. Finally, this situation can be handled with this saying, describing the challenges and asking for guidance on resolving this solution.
The increase in the number of cars and bikes has added to various pollution problems. The smoke emitted from vehicles has made the cities living gas chambers. The new policies of economic liberalization have opened doors for the multinationals, and the cars of various companies have become status symbols of the upper middle class. The amount of harmful gases in the air is alarmingly on the rise. They affect our eyes and lungs, giving rise to all kinds of cardiovascular and respiratory diseases. We, as the responsible citizens of India, must take steps to reduce these man-made problems and start using public transport as much as possible. The introduction of metro rail is a boon to the commuters as it saves time and money. These days, public transport has been made safe and secure.
The professor is talking about clinical psychology.
In order to know how behavior patterns can be changed, the clinical psychologist has to know what causes the client to behave the way he or she does. Identifying the cause is called diagnosis. In diagnosis, a psychologist uses two basic tools: interviews and psychological tests. Through interviews and tests, the psychologist tries to classify the problem to see if it falls into any known categories. A psychologist may also attempt to describe the client's personality in terms of how he or she deals with life. For example, some people like to lead, and some prefer to follow the lead of others. Some people are active and outgoing, while others are quiet and reflective. In a diagnostic interview, the psychologist takes the client's case history. This means learning how the client got along with parents, teachers, and friends, as well as how the person handled difficult situations in the past. Psychological testing is the other way that a psychologist tries to diagnose the client's problems. Clinical psychologists have developed tests that can help them learn about a person's intelligence and personality, as well as tests that show whether a person's behavior or perception is influenced by emotions, disabilities, or other factors. Personality testing is useful in discovering how the client tries to adjust to life. Personality tests can reveal unconscious feelings the person is unable to talk about. This information can be important and could help shorten the length of treatment required.
To join the library and take books out, you need a membership card. Take your passport or identity card, as well as a proof of your home address, to the information desk and you will be issued with a card. After a period of 2 years, all readers are required to go to the desk with a document that has their name and current address on it, so the library can keep up-to-date records of where people are living. There's no need to show a passport again, and there's no charge for this service, but any lost cards are charged at $5. If you can't find the book you want on the shelves, you can reserve it. If it's in another library in the city, we can usually get it for you within a week. If someone else has borrowed it, it can take a few weeks. Either way, we notify you by phone or email when the item is available to be picked up. We will hold it for you for 5 days. Books can be borrowed for 14 days and can be renewed for a further 2 weeks. Children's books also have a 2-week borrowing period. The same exists for CD-ROMs and CDs, but DVDs, both children's and adults, can only be borrowed for up to 7 days. It isn't possible to renew them. Some reference books can be borrowed, but normally only for 1 day, so 24 hours.
Crows, she says, are what's known as partial migrants. Every year, some members of the population migrate between breeding grounds and their overwintering grounds, like parking lots, but others just stay put. So Townsend and her colleagues wanted to know if that urge to migrate was something individual crows can turn on and off. To find out, they captured 18 crows from overwintering spots in California and New York. They fitted the birds with little backpack satellite tags and tracked them for several years. Overall, 3/4 of the birds migrated, an average of 300 miles. And more importantly, if they migrated once, they did it every year, suggesting traveling is not a habit they switch on and off. The researchers also found that migrating crows returned faithfully to the same breeding grounds every year, but were more flexible on where to overwinter, which could be a good thing.
The lives of distinguished people often take a lot of telling, yet even devotees might raise an eyebrow at the heft of Sir Paul McCartney's memoir, 2 volumes totalling 960 pages. Casual Beatles fans may be surprised by the title too, though most would consider Sir Paul the band's best musician, with an honourable mention for George Harrison. John Lennon typically gets the plaudits for writing. In a poll by the BBC in 2001 to rank the greatest lyricists, Lennon received more than twice as many votes as McCartney.
Just about every nation in the world, to some extent, admits immigrants. But there's something unique about America. We don't simply welcome new immigrants, we don't simply welcome new arrivals, we are born of immigrants. That is who we are. Immigration is our origin story. And for more than 2 centuries, it's remained at the core of our national character, it's our oldest tradition. It's who we are. It's part of what makes us exceptional. After all, unless your family is Native American, one of the first Americans, our families, all of our families, come from someplace else. With everything else going on in the world, it's easy to forget one of the most important topics our country has been hesitant to deal with: immigration. Our dependence on foreigner workers is one of the major reasons we are having a Sputnik moment, as President Obama called it in his recent State of the Union address. Many argue that we need immigrants to take jobs natives deem beneath them. Others claim L-1B foreign workers are necessary because not enough skilled American workers exist to fill such positions. Both of these beliefs are undermining the true strength of America and gradually degrading her future.
The Mayans were a group of people who lived in Central America. They developed an advanced civilization. It lasted for many centuries. LT's high point was between the years 200 and 900. The Mayans are famous for a number of things. They built many city-states. These were like small countries. Naturally, the center of each was a city farm, surrounded these cities and supported them with food. Mayan cities also contained exceptional works of architecture. The ruins of some buildings can be seen today. There are both large palaces and stepped pyramids. The Mayans had a writing system and literature, but they didn't use paper. Instead they wrote on stone, wood and tree bark. Lots of writing was done on the insides and outsides of their temples and palaces. They also formed books from tree bark. But sadly, few of these books have survived to the present day. What happened to them? Well, first, the heat and wet weather of the jungle destroyed many, but Spanish conquerors got most of them. They actively sought to destroy the mines, written records. Fortunately, other objects, including Mayan works of art, have survived. We can see some of this art on the stones of their temples and palaces. The Mayans were excellent pottery makers as well. They created figures of stone, clay, and wood, and they even made some objects out of metal. But there are few extant examples of any metal devices.
Ask any young person what they want to be when they grow up and you most likely will get lofty answers, such as a pro football player or a YouTube star. While admirable, it may be worthwhile to temper these expectations and get kids thinking about a plan B that incorporates their dreams into the real world. Enter Junior Achievement, a non-profit organization that is celebrating its 100th anniversary. Since 1919, YA has made it its mission to prepare youth for future jobs by helping young people understand business and finance so that they are workforce ready. Currently, the YA network reaches approximately 5 million students a year in the United States, and 10 million students in total in more than 100 countries. To understand its current mission, we have to look at the organization's history, which began as the Boys and Girls Bureau of the Eastern States League, founded by AT&T chairman Theodore Vail, Strathmore Paper Company founder Horace Moses, and Massachusetts Senator Murray Crane. Today, YA aims to educate youth with the knowledge and skills to achieve economic success in a variety of ways, whether that means going to college, starting a business, or learning a trade.
This week, I'm going to talk about Forward Thinking, a locally based charity, mainly for people in the southern part of this region, which includes all rural and urban communities outside the city of Clifton. This idea behind Forward Thinking is to use the art to promote well-being. The charity develops projects for people with special needs and health problems, and also delivers training to healthcare professionals in using the art. It's been shown that the arts can bring all sorts of positive changes in patients, including benefits such as shortening the length of stay in hospital and reducing the amounts of medicine they need.
Art therapy can be defined as a form of psychotherapy which uses art as its main means of communication. Patients needn't have any particular talent in art, since the art therapist is not concerned with making an assessment of what the patient produces. The principal aim of this kind of therapy is to facilitate the patient's well-being in order to bring change and growth on a personal level through the use of art materials. Obviously, as always, the relationship between the therapist and the patient is important, but art therapy differs from other psychological therapies because it's a process between the patient, the therapist, and the art. So what we found is the expressive nature of this therapy is particularly successful with those who have difficulty expressing themselves verbally.
The capital water usage has been on an upward trend for many years. In rich countries, water consumption has gradually been slowed down by price increases and the use of modern technology. In the USA, industrial production has risen fourfold since 1950, while water consumption has fallen by more than a third. Japan and Germany have similarly improved their use of water and manufacturing processes. Japanese industry, for example, now recycles more than 75% of processed water. However, the pyramids in Cairo are my favorite buildings in the whole world. I knew all about them when I was very young. They have always fascinated me. They really are one of the world's wonders. People still don't know how they were built. I think they're probably the greatest architectural achievement ever. Even the tallest buildings today are easy to build. The pyramids were almost impossible to build, but they did it. Two things fascinates me about the pyramids: their beautiful shape and a mystery. I love looking at photos of the pyramids. When I visited Egypt, that beauty blew me away. And the great thing was, I also felt a mystery. The perimeter full of hidden secrets, history.
France, officially French Republic, French France or République Française, country of northwestern Europe. Historically and culturally among the most important nations in the Western world, France has also played a very significant role in international affairs, with former colonies in every corner of the world. Bounded by the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea, the Alps and the Pyrenees,